Of course, change is prevalent within organisations, society right now. We could say it's more prevalent than it has been. I'm not sure if that's true, but certainly it's well worth a look at in terms of our role as a manager and whether you continue yourself within that, the team and or the organisation. The first of 5 areas what I highlight here is assessing really why change is important right now. So what's happening to you personally, the team and the organisation around you. And one of the quotes I'm quite drawn to, and I'll kind of paraphrase, is no man can ever step in the same river twice. Why? Because that person has changed when they step back in the river, and of course the river has changed as well. So thinking about an organisation, of course I'm not talking about rivers here, is that something that happened 3 months ago might be relevant today, and actually things have changed because the organisation, society, the team, etc. have changed the flow of the river, if you like, and of course you as an individual has changed as well. Doesn't mean we can't learn from the past, but it does mean every time we approach something is actually, it's new. Every day is a new day. So that's one thing to think about is point one is, why is change important to you, the team and the organisation? The second part, we need to have a map for change because it can get a bit tricky, you can get lost, you can get stuck. So I like to think of it as 2 systems. You've got the old and the new, essentially. And those systems, a bit like I imagine like an S-curve, is there's the growth, the maturity, and if you don't do anything about it, you go into decline. So what you want to do is to kind of back up out of that decline is actually go into another curve, which is the new system. So you've got growth, maturity, decline, and then overlaid onto that is another system of change, the new system, growth, maturity, and decline. So for the old way of working, or the current way of working, it's probably a little bit more accurate really, is people still need a bit of hospice, a bit of care there. We know they're probably going to shift to perhaps a different process, new way of working, restructure, whatever it might be. So they need support. Now the people to jump onto the new, the pioneering spirit, if you like, they need to have that ability to challenge themselves and others around them. And of course, where we find turbulence within change is when people are shifting between the old and the new. And of course, very often by the time they've shifted into the new, they've already forgotten what the old used to be like the old way of working, what it used to be like around here. So that's a really helpful point. Point number 2 is, what's the system of change? What's the map of change? And then you can look back at that and say, well, for me right now, I'm in the middle. I'm somewhere between the growth and onto the new curve. What's it like for my team right now? Where are they? And typically in management terms, perhaps you're the lead and they're the lag. So we have to think about how we communicate to them, because actually they're a bit further down the curve than you are. Maybe a bit further down the mountain, you're a bit fitter and a bit stronger and have a different awareness. You're up front. And then you've got to also think about that system moving forward and how you then reinvent again, because of course I've just talked about the old and the new, but guess what, there's another one. Soon the new will be the old and then you're on to another new, but you kind of get the point. So why change and what are the systems? Within that, you've got people's responses to change. You've got your response, the team response, and the organisational response. And we use the Sarah model quite a lot. It's a bereavement model, so it's for really important change within the organisation. I'm not talking about a quick change in process or anything like that, or where one person would sit. It's actually for really important change. And here we're talking about Sarah standing for shock, anger, and resistance. So you can see what kind of responses you get there. And then when people move into the new, into that pioneering spirit with a challenge, then they're more accepting of the change and then look at the help. They're asking questions, how can I adopt, how can I help others and move through this? So again, a bit of another mapping exercise to think about how you communicate to someone else. If you're fine with the change, you've accepted it and you're banging to help. But if someone else in the team is shocked, they don't really want to see you all fine with the change. They need to see you communicating facts, data, those kind of things, or to answer the questions they might have right now as much as you can. You might not know all the answers because that river is always constantly moving and changing, but you do what you can in the moment. So that's point number 3. Point number 4 is about how we work with presence, the deep now and compressed time. Our role as a manager is to identify what we do and don't know, which is just how it is, and how we focus people on what's happening right now. So it's a bit like driving your car. When you drive your car, that's hopefully you're looking out that window, that's the deep now, that's what's happening, and you can move and adapt depending on who's swerving and cutting you up in front. Of course it's helpful to look over your shoulder, check blind spots and mirrors, that's kind of looking in the past if you like, what's behind you. And equally you've got the future, sat nav, you've got the radio telling you things, you've got roadworks, signs, whatever it might be. Now you can't drive your car looking over your shoulder or just checking sat nav, the past and the future. You need to be in the kind of focused on the present moment, alert to what's happening, and maybe 10% of your time looking over your shoulder, 10% looking forward. So a rough approximation of 80% of your focus as a team needs to be focused on the now. Whatever the now is, it might be today, it might be this week, this month, this quarter, or before the summer or Easter or Christmas, whatever it might be, but really compressed time. You may review what happened previous and what might happen in the future for an hour's meeting, so you're constantly looking over your shoulder or looking forward. But in the scheme of things, really focus on people and what you know is happening right now, and you're delivering the information you have right now. So you might say, well, actually, I'm not really sure what will happen in 2 months. It might be, but let's dial it back and think what we do know at the moment is this is happening. A, B, and C, but the rest we're not sure. So that's our fourth point out of the 5 really. The last one, you've got to have some sort of starting point, some sort of action plan. I've seen very complex systems here, and really it needs to be so straightforward. I can give you 3 questions, but 2 will serve you. One is what is getting your attention right now, an action, a baby step, a small step, and how can you start? How can you just step onto that new system of change, if you will? And that's all it needs to be. And the third question, don't let this be a deal breaker or slow you down or create a barrier, is what might you learn along the way? It can be really helpful to have that kind of advanced warning system. This is a bit of a sat-nav metaphor, I suppose, but don't let that stop you. Be aware of what you might need in terms of support and what support you can provide to your team, what people might learn, those kind of things. Just have it in almost in brackets in the background, or it might be very clear, which is great, but don't let that stop you. So those are the 5 areas. Why is change important right now? What are those systems looking like, the old and the new, if you wanted to use those terms? How are people responding? And perhaps the Sarah model can help you work with that. Compressed time, work with that presence, the deep now. And finally, some kind of action plan for change. So what can you focus on right now? And what's just easy baby step, your starting point, and what might you learn along the way?